Good evening. Evening? Afternoon. It's afternoon now, isn't it? I mean, it could be evening for some of you, but nearly 3 o'clock, so it's definitely afternoon. Probably should have moved my chair before we started the stream. Oh, this bloody chair. Well, it's not even the chair's fault, it's the floor's fault, really. In fact, the floor is, the floor in the office is kind of like all over the shop. So the floorboards in this house are kind of like, oh my god, the floorboards. I don't want to be at the same level as this guy. Who's this guy? And they're all kind of all over the place. At some point, excuse me, at some point, I am pretty sure that I am going to go into the hallway outside or the landing outside of my office. And at some point, I am going to go through that floor. At some point, I'm going to go through that floor. But how are we all doing this lovely Saturday afternoon? I don't know if it's nice for you guys as well, but up here in the Midlands, in the East Midlands, it is very nice. Some glorious heat haze. No clouds in the sky. I tell you now, I had to go to Sainsbury's. I forgot one of the main things I wanted to check was the salt that Python recommended to me last week. I didn't get around to looking at it. But I did get some of that glorious Hungarian sausage. But oh my god, it was so busy. So busy in town today. It was crazy busy. It's actually obscene how busy it was. The number of people, though, who walk around with their trolleys or shopping carts for the American, or for the Americas lot. The number of people who push their trolley around and don't look. Like if you drive like you push a trolley, then a lot of people should probably lose their car license. It's kind of worrying. I almost got hit by no fewer than 5 trolleys, and I was paying attention the entire time. It's ridiculous. But on a day like this, glorious sunshine, the town square was kind of busy. Haven't seen it like that in a while. There was some sort of protest going on. I didn't pay attention to what the protest was about, purely because I didn't want to talk to anyone. So when you're there with your sunglasses and your headphones on, like, just don't acknowledge them. There you go. No one can hand you a pamphlet if you're not able to be spoken to and you can't make eye contact. But yeah, busy in town. Very glad to be back at home and not having to deal with quite so many people. And it's a lot cooler in the house. Now, how long it's going to be cool in the house is anyone's guess. I believe it's 18 degrees outside today. And with the UK getting steadily warmer, I am not looking forward to late spring and summer. Not looking forward to it. Because for a start, what you guys are going to hear on these streams, and it's going to affect audio quality to an extent, what you're going to get is things like the fan blowing in the back, the traffic outside the windows. I mean, if you're lucky, you'll hear some bird song, but that's kind of unlikely. The bird song kind of gets drowned out. We were thinking about it. It's been over 2 years now since the initial lockdown here in the UK, and we're actually, like, me and Kit, we kind of miss the first lockdown. The first lockdown was, it was an unusual one. Because she works in a shop, so, but I can work, I can work from home, and I do work from home, but at the time I hadn't really worked from home. But 2 years on, it's kind of like the norm for me now. But So she was on furlough, and having her around the house was unusual all the time. But the road. Hey, Joe. Apparently, you sending that message overloaded overloaded the video encoding. I'm not sure why that is. Really weird. But yeah, the first lockdown, the road outside of our house was dead. Like, cats were quite happily walking around. You'd have the occasional person running by because you were allowed to exercise. And you could hear the birds. The birds were out and singing, and the birds were loving our front garden because there were no cars driving past. We made a new friend in one of the neighbours' cats who kept coming in. Some black and white kitten at the time, and he still keeps coming in. Wow, the encoding must really be snail. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why I'm encoding just a plain image at a 6K bitrate, but you hated your neighbours over lockdown. Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think so we live in a semi-detached house, and our neighbours to one side, like we're on good terms with both of our neighbours, and a fair few of our other neighbours that aren't connected to us. But the neighbours we have on one side, like they'll always happily collect our parcels, or he'll always collect our parcels for us, and you know, we'll collect for him, and every now and then we'll just have a chat. The neighbours on the other side, like, I don't know what happened, but for basically the entirety of the first lockdown, they just disappeared. Like, gone. Their garden was overgrown, both their front and back garden was overgrown. I mean, it was kind of nice because it was there weren't any renovation works being done while they were gone. So they do a lot of hammering and banging in their house. So, but yeah, they were gone. But it was just nice to have no traffic, or very, very little traffic. When we had to drive an hour down the road for some appointments, we go down the M1, and usually the M1's a dumpster fire. And we went down. I think it was 7:30 in the morning, which, you know, is pretty busy time on the M1, and it was dead. It was so good. It was so difficult not to speed. So difficult not to go over the speed limit because you've not got any other cars to gauge your speed on, so you have to keep paying attention to your speedo. I always try and keep a good relationship with my neighbours as best I can. We should be able to drive during lockdown. Yeah, I can imagine driving in London during lockdown. I can imagine London being quite an easy way to drive. Apparently the tube was quite quiet as well. So it is intriguing to see what happened. Like, what happened with basically the entire country during lockdown was really cool to see. Now we're back to what it was 2.5 years ago. Everyone crowding the places and no one wearing masks or anything, and it's proven a nightmare for Kit because no one wears masks in her store. But no, if you're living in London, there's probably no point having a car. If you lived outside of London, maybe, but inside London itself is probably not a good idea. Just because of all the costs. Apparently they're adding in costs similar to London's in Manchester now, and Python's going to be pissed off by that, I think. Unfortunately. I think the only time I actually use my car now is if Kit's using it to get to an appointment, I use it to get to an appointment. Maybe if I need to get some big stuff shopping, so if I need to buy like loo roll or heavy items like big things of apple juice or something, I'll probably take the car and get the heavy stuff then. And if I need to get into the office for one reason or another, the day job office, But the day job office, like, they're doing a lot of renovation there at the moment, and they've closed half the car park, but they also opened up a load of space for people to go in. So the demand has gone up, but the parking availability has gone down. So apparently it's back to the, if you want to get a parking space, you have to get there at like 7:30 in the morning, and forget that. I know my manager's manager wants me to go into the office next week. Is it next week? Probably week after next. And I'm like, if you can find me a parking space, sure, but I'm bugging if I'm taking public transport in. It's just a pain. I mean, we've both been putting off our driving licenses for quite some time. I mean, I got mine, wow, 3 years ago now. I passed my driving test literally just before I... Was it 3 years ago? Or was it 4? It was a while back. I passed my driving test literally before we took the plane to Japan. Like, it was like 3 or 4 days before we flew to Japan. I took my driving test. I passed my driving test. Yeah, I kind of like it when I think about it. It's kind of embarrassing what I did with a couple of my drive. Well, yeah, I was very late with my theory test. I think I've done in total 5 theory tests in my life. Let me just think. Was it 5? Because there's a 2-year time limit on a theory test, and I think I've done 5. I've passed every single one, but it's just the delay. So back when I was in college, when I was 16, I had a moped and a bike. And so throughout college, I had my theory test, and that was all good. And then I went to university, and I had to take my theory test again to be able to keep using the bike when I visited my parents back home again. And then I kind of left it. And then I came up to Nottingham full time. And I believe when I first met Kit, I took my theory test thinking it should probably be a good idea to get my driving test done, and never took my driving test. Then it expired. And then I took my theory test again. And then I had that. And then near the end of it, I took my driving test once. And then it expired. And then I had to take my take my theory test again before I could take my driving test another time. So, yeah, there was a fair amount of me wasting time, and that's when you think about how much a theory test costs. It's a fair amount of money that I just threw down the drain because I didn't pull my finger out and get my license. And now we've got the issue that cars in the UK are getting crazy expensive. If you run a petrol car or a diesel car, it's really expensive, but they want you to buy hybrids now. Hybrids are electric. Well, I rent, so electric is out of the question. So we want to get a hybrid, but hybrids are... they're not cheap. So we're debating about getting a car on finance, brand new, and then paying for half of it, and then using the car as a trade-in on a new car again, just doing it that way. It's either that or lease. So at the moment we fully own the car. Yeah, so because I fully own the car, I don't really have to worry about paying it off, but... I mean, I had the option to retake my test quite quickly, because when I was doing the tests, there wasn't a massive demand. I know after the initial lockdown, when they started reopening driving tests, I understand it was a real pain to get your driving test booked in. So I'm quite happy that I did my driving test when I did, because if I didn't, that wasn't going to go well. But yeah, my driving test fails. I failed when I was in... I'm trying to think. Yeah, so back when I was back home in Cornwall, before I went to uni, or no, just after I'd come back from uni for the first time, I took my driving test and failed it. And that was just before I went back to uni, so I couldn't retake it back there. So that was 13 years ago. So 13 years ago, I took my first driving test and failed it. And my driving instructor wasn't happy about what my fail was. So, the irony in that I think it was 0 minors and 1 major, and the major was something 100% out of my control. So, I think I was coming up to a T-junction and there were cars parked all the way around the corner on my side of the junction. And I couldn't physically go further left to be more on my side of the road. And I wanted to take a right turn. And they gave me a major for that because I wasn't far enough over my side of the road going up to that junction. And it's like, well, I'm not driving a monster truck. Short of driving a monster truck, what do you expect me to do? And my instructor knew the exact spot that I would have got the fail on. And he was not happy. Because he knows how far over you would have to go on that road in order to get around that junction. So that was my first fail. And then nearly 10 years later, I did my driving test again. And again, I did the whole thing fine. And I went. It was midwinter, so everything was quite cold and icy. And it was quite early in the morning. I did my test, and my fail for that was I went around a corner because it's on a route I'd never been on. She took me on like the one road in the area that I'd never been on, and I had this really large sweeping corner, and I thought I could take it. And I took it far too fast and I had to brake around the corner. And she gave me a major for that because it was a dangerous place to brake because I could have lost control on that corner if there was any ice. I fully understand that. I deserved that fail. The second test I did here, I failed because I was coming up to a red light, which I knew about, or a light that was changing to red, and I had to make a decision. Do I stop or do I go for it? So in my head, I chose stop, but my legs didn't choose that. So I took my feet off the accelerator, but I didn't put my foot on the brake, so I rolled through the red light. So that was a fail. Was not happy with myself for that one. And that was a good run too. I had to deal with horses and everything, and I dealt with that perfectly fine. And then my third attempt here in the Midlands, I did it perfectly fine. So I had quite possibly the easiest route they could have given me. And my manoeuvres are the manoeuvres they gave me. Forward bay park and reverse out of the bay. Like, best maneuver. I think forward bay park, reverse out of the bay, and reverse around a corner. Those were the manoeuvres I got asked to do. And it was, they couldn't have given me an easier test. Yeah, I know what you mean about driving on the motorway. But driving on the motorway, I think I'd had the car, when I bought the car, so I bought the car, it must have been about 9 months after I passed my test, I bought the car. And so we drive a Kia Picanto 2. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, if you say what you're doing, like, if you communicate with your examiner, they'll get an idea of what's going through your head. And sometimes, if they're doing the driving test and they're doing it off GPS, and they say, right, I want you to navigate to this place or whatever, or they say, I want you to take the exit on this roundabout, and that you just confirm. Like, did you say first or third exit? I want you to take the first exit, please. Thank you. Okay, I will take first exit. So you're just confirming. But yeah, after we got the car, Kit's sister had a birthday party for her kids, and Kit was like, "Oh, we'll come, we'll go down." And it's like, "Oh no, this is not going to end well." And she's like, "Do you want to drive down or do you want to drive back?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know the route, and I have an idea of the route back. So you drive down and I'll drive back." And we're like, "Okay, cool." But it was a terrible. Like, we had a sat nav to drive me back, which is fine. But the drive back, I'd never driven on the motorway, so I had to drive along 2 motorways, including merging onto one. And because I'd never driven on a motorway, I'd hoped to be able to get driving, at a sensible time when we still had daylight and we could get going. Unfortunately, we stayed at the party for an hour later than we went to, which meant we left at 4:30, which was as night was setting in. And then to add to the entirety of the fun, we had a storm hit as well. So first time ever on a motorway, it was nighttime in a storm on a motorway I'd never driven on. So yeah, that was an interesting one. That was an interesting drive, I have to say. But since then, I've driven a lot more. I've driven a lot more on the roads, and I'm better at parking. I'm better at maneuvers. I'm much better at motorway driving than I was. I'm much more confident. I mean, I've always been a relatively confident driver, but not a dangerously confident driver. There's a difference between being a confident driver and a dangerously confident driver. So I'm fully aware of what's going on, and I'm very confident in my driving, but I'm also reserved enough to be careful of what's happening around me. And some people aren't. One of your colleagues said was when you're on the motorway, when you see a merging lane, go to the next lane and let other drivers exit the slipway. Yes. The number of people who do not do that on the M1 especially is infuriating. You're trying to get on the motorway and you need to merge. You can't stop because it's not a stop route, it's a merge. And you have to try and match your way, and so many people just close gaps or don't make gaps or don't move over when there's nothing in the other lane. It's infuriating. Driving with confidence is key. You are correct. Driving with confidence is key. Like I said, you don't want to go too confident. You want to drive with confidence. You don't want to drive with arrogance. And something I've always said, because I know that years ago, one of my managers used to think I was quite arrogant because I was confident in my abilities. Well, the thing is, if you're confident in your abilities, arrogance, I've always said, is misplaced confidence. Arrogance is misplaced confidence. Confidence is all well and good. But arrogance is you have too much confidence in your ability. It's similar to overconfidence, but if you're arrogant about it, arrogance is not the way. Confidence is. But if you want an example of arrogant drivers, just look at anyone who drives an Audi or a BMW or a Jag or a Merc. If I remember when I did my first driving test, all those years ago, I believe I had 4 lessons, and my instructor was like, yeah, you're probably test ready, so go book your test and we'll have some more lessons in between. My instructor up here was a little bit more reserved and wanted to get their money's worth, so I believe I had 8 lessons before my test. But I did have the radio on in some of those lessons, so it's just nice to have some confidence and have something other than silence in the car. Or you have a chat with your instructor about things. But I like good instructors will go at your pace and will say when they think you're ready. I think the whole thing in the UK where they wanted to they wanted to introduce a couple things to the driving tests which would make it more difficult and make getting your license more difficult. I think one of them was they wanted to make it so that motorway driving was 100% required. But believe it or not, there are some regions in the UK that don't have access to a motorway. So where I'm from originally, there isn't a motorway. There's no motorways in Cornwall. the nearest motorway starts at Exeter, which is in Devon. And because I lived in the far end of Cornwall to the rest of the country, it would have taken an hour to drive to the motorway, but I'd have to have my lesson on the motorway, and then I'd have to drive back. And that's just unrealistic. Same with certain parts of Scotland. You're too far away from a motorway. And then the other thing they wanted to introduce was like they wanted to have it so that you had to have like 20 hours of driving or something. They wanted to make it so you had to have an arbitrary amount of hours on the road before you could book your tests. And the big question there was, so who's paying for this? If I'm test ready in 8 hours, why do I need 12 more before I'm arbitrarily allowed to do it? Well, it may have been something stupid like 100 hours. And with the cost of driving tests and the cost of driving lessons, it's crazy. If you were to do a test at a motorway in London, it would take ages before you even got to the motorway in the first place. And then you'd be on the M25. And because the M25 is a glorified car park, the average hours before passing is like 40. Yeah, I don't remember how many hours I did total before my test. I need to look up how many payments I made to my instructor, because that'll tell me how many hours I did. It wasn't a crazy high number of hours. I remember that much. But there were some I think there were a couple girls this guy was teaching, and I was quite comfortably driving around in like 4th and 5th and all of that on the different roads, depending on which road I was on, of course. And he still had some drivers, I think he mentioned a couple girls, he may have had some guys as well, who were struggling to change gear still after like 3 or 4 hours of lessons. And it's something that some people just can't do. And it's something that people need to realise. Some people are very... Hi, Barn. Welcome to the stream. Hydrate. Okay. There we go. I've hydrated. Welcome to the show. We're here talking about driving tests, so if you have any input on that, feel free. You have COVID. That sucks, my guy. I've managed to avoid that. I think depending on the version of a variant, I guess it is, it hits you a bit differently, doesn't it, that one? Actually, what have they named the new variant? Because they called it like, what was it, Domicron or something? Because it's a Delta Omicron variant. I think we're getting to the point, the Darko 3 variant. That variant just makes you salty. It doesn't make you anything else. Deltacron is what they call it. There you go. Yeah, the Delta, like, I think they call it Deltacron because it has the virility of Omicron and the strength of Delta. But, oh my god. It's like we threw out the Greek alphabet and we've now just... we're now just combining Greek letters. I don't even know what symbol you draw for a Deltacron. I think the thing we need to worry about, guys, is when we hit the Omega variant. That's the last one. And it's where the entire... Do the German way of combining words. The German language in combining words. Jeez. It's like Germany didn't get the memo with some of the words as well. It's like ambulance, 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 ambulancia, Krankenwagen. Okay, Germany. You need to get on. You need to get on the get the note, guys. Aeroplane, aero. Flugel. You're like, what? Why? Why are we going down this route, Germany? It's like Germany missed the meeting and decided to just make up its own words. Although they do have possibly one of the greatest words of handy for a mobile phone, yeah. Which you can't, like, my two variations of the German accent are camp and angry. But you can't say handy, like, angrily. Handy! Sounds like, yeah, it sounds like you're trying too hard. Oh yeah, I gave a handy. But you can't say that. Don't say that. But man, languages are so strange. I mean, to an extent you can kind of get where German is coming from, but like there are certain things like, what was it? Ananas. Ananas is the main word that us and the Portuguese kind of didn't get the memo on, but every other European language got it. So like French, ananas, Spanish, ananas, Italian, ananas, German, ananas, and it's like all of these things. And then Portuguese, piña. You can see where this is going. English, pineapple. I don't know in what world that thing looks like a pineapple, but apparently it's a pineapple. Python seems to be a popular thing. Python is one of the things. I know I use a bit of Python, I use a bit of C. When I'm doing stuff for programming, I use C#. Not programming, for video editing. So Sony Vegas, or it's not even Sony anymore, it's Magix Vegas. In Vegas, for their automating stuff, they use C#. So I've been using a bit of that to automate my clips. Oh, actually, I never mentioned that. So if you haven't seen the news, or you weren't tuned in yesterday, or whatever, the Clips channel that I started, Dark Eye 3 Clips, I should probably put a link to that somewhere on this stream. Dark Eye 3 Clips has now started having videos uploaded to it, various clips, which is why I've automated stuff through Vegas. And I think we must be on six videos now up there. They're all short. It's all short form content. Oh, it's 4. Well, is it really that close? Oh, okay, yeah, 4. There's 4. Okay, there's 4. Isn't it just YouTube Shorts? No. There's a difference between short form and YouTube Shorts. So when you're putting a video on YouTube, as it stands, I don't believe I don't think there's an option for it. I think it's in the format of it and what you use to upload it. So because I'm doing it all through Chrome and uploading through there, and I'm not labeling it as shorts content, I'm just labeling it as my usual content. They're all like 30-second, between 30-second and 2-minute long at the moment, the videos that are going up. And they don't count as YouTube Shorts. But because they hit the 30-second threshold, I can put ads on, or they can get ads put on them. And at the moment, we're at a point where there's no point getting ads on them because they're getting no views and no one's subscribed to the channel yet. But like the moment one of them starts getting recommended, the others will as well. So that's fine. But I've made a point of not using YouTube Shorts content because YouTube Shorts are done in a different way to the normal content. They're monetized differently. I believe it was it Ludwig on his Mogul Mail channel. He showed off what sort of money he makes from a YouTube short and what he gets from a clip, just a general video. And the short had, I believe it was something like 12 million views. That's 12 million views on a short. And I believe he made like $80 from it. For a 12 million view YouTube short, he made $80. And then from his non-short channel, I believe he showed a video that had 2 million views. 2 million views, and that one, because of the way it can be monetized differently to shorts, the 2 million view one had like $1,000 in revenue. So it's not to say you don't make money from shorts, but the view to payout ratio is very different between shorts and normal short form content. So that's something to bear in mind. So at the moment, I'm trying to avoid shorts, and because shorts and short form are treated, shorts and videos, I'm just going to denote videos as short form or long form content, and shorts as YouTube's answer to TikTok. When you compare shorts and videos, they're targeted very differently. And if someone watches a load of your shorts, they're not necessarily going to be recommended your other videos, your normal content. And I don't think they fully interlink between the two. So I'm trying to avoid shorts content. Partly because I don't like shorts content, and I don't like the whole thing. They're designed for viewing on your phone. So in vertical. Said years ago that what I would love is a job in corporate instead of the corporate lackey job I currently have. The job in corporate, so that when upper managers, the guys, like, they try and do videos like in person using their phone, and they do it in vertical. I want to go up and I want to slap the camera out of their hand, or the phone out of their hand, rotate it 90 degrees, and say video in that. I would love to be able to get paid to do that. Just running up to execs and going, no, you're not recording it right. Flip the phone. Turn it 90 degrees. Do it. Maybe walk around in a Senator Palpatine outfit. Do it. Yellow contacts in and red saggy eyes. But yeah, I don't like vertical video. So I'm not keen on Instagram Reels. I'm not keen on YouTube Reels? I mean, Reels or Stories now? I don't know. Twitter Stories, like all of these things. I don't like TikTok. Don't like YouTube Shorts. Call me old school if you want. But I'd much rather have the short form content. Even if it is like just short form video. Even if it is selfish in that at some point I can probably monetize short form content better than I can YouTube Shorts. Actually, on a random thought, do I have that showing? Oh, I do have a goal. I'm guessing the goal is at the top of my chat. Is it? I don't know. I don't know how goals work. Oh well. You clean your keyboard. I need to clean mine. I've got some of that keyboard cleaning goo, which I have yet to actually take out of its thing and put over my keyboard. I mean, I could get the clip and remove every key from my keyboard. I should probably do that. I need to get some compressed air just because I'm lazy. Stick some compressed air in there, stick on the goo, and my keyboard will be good as new. I mean, I may need to do some repair work on my spacebar. I think my spacebar is starting to do some double tapping. So it's affecting my Destiny play a bit, but you should get that, yeah. I've got a few gooey things. I've got a Googon thing as well, which is for labels on my various games that I've bought over the years. Well, you know when they had the pre-owned stickers, and every store seems to have pre-owned stickers, and they just go, here, we're going to stick this on, but the adhesive is going to be so oppressive that it's just never going to come off. Oh, my office gets dusty too. Like before I get the paint, I need to do a like a thorough dusting of my office, so that when I paint, I don't cover the newly painted and primed pieces with dust. Especially for when I get some clean paintwork on it, you know. I've not painted anything in a while. Thinking about it, I should probably get around to painting. I've got a whiteboard above my monitor. That's like all of the things that I want to do and what's currently in progress. So I've got like different sticky notes of different colours which denote what sort of work I need to do. So I have a green sticky notes, which are just a repaint or a recolor. Yellow sticky notes, which means I need to do some work on the kits, like detailing them and scribing and stuff. And then I have pink, which is kit bash, which is where I bash 2 or more kits together and then do something with that, which will involve up detailing and recoloring. So those are the more painy ones. But yeah, I bought a 3-pack a little while back, so it's like a half corkboard, half whiteboard. So the left side is all corkboard, which is where I've pinned my sticky notes, and the right side is a whiteboard, and I've got like a multiple color pen pack, white dry wipes. Got like a board wipe and all of that stuff up there, so it's just sat above my monitor at the moment, reminding me of the things that I want to do but I haven't started looking at yet. This one is purely for making Gundam kits, or making kits. I don't have one for my day-to-day work, but that's because I've got so many notes lying around on my work computer's desktop. Awkwardly, I only recently installed Notepad++ on my PC, on my actual home PC. I've been using Notepad for so long, and I needed to look at some code, and I'm like, I'm not using Notepad to look at code. Have you ever tried looking at like 700, 800 lines of code, and it's not like color coded or anything? There are so many different notepads you could use, like notepad tools. There's UltraEdit, there's Notepad++, there's Sublime Text, there's Programmer's Notepad. You use Atom. I'll take a look, but I've been using Notepad++ for quite some time. Sad thing is, for my day job, I used UltraEdit for a bit, and I actually learned how to use its scripting function. Man, we have flitted through some topics. Thinking about it. Atom is much like Sublime, but you can add add-ons to make coding. I think there's a lot of open source text editors which are pretty good for that sort of thing. I know Notepad++ has a lot of add-ons you can put on. Add-ons and plugins. But yeah, I didn't have really anything else that came to mind, so I went and downloaded Notepad++ so that I could do my my automated scripting for Vegas. I noticed you said you used DaVinci Resolve before. I just use Vegas because that's all I've always used. It's just a bit and sometimes become sometimes paywalled now, really? I mean, I would explain why only one of our servers at work has it. But yeah, the whole Resolve is free. Yeah, I think I've had Vegas a few times, newer versions in bundles. So I've been using the newer version as I get it in bundles. But I mean, I like Vegas. I'm quite happy using Vegas at the moment because I have it, and it does give me some functionality. The fact that I can't do GPU encoding is a bit of a pain in the ass, just because of the version of Vegas I'm using, so it doesn't recognize my 2070 Super as a thing it can use, even though it's like crazy powerful compared to what it was coded that it could use. Apparently, you can trick it if you roll back drivers for your GPU. But that's a lot of effort just so that I can use GPU encoding. But one thing that has been annoying me lately with video editing software is that a lot of it is becoming tabletified, if that makes sense. Where they're making all of the stuff bigger, and they're making it so that if you were to be using it on like an Android tablet or a Windows tablet or what have you, or an iPad, so that everything's big enough for you to do with your fingers as opposed to using a mouse and keyboard. And it's getting annoying. I mean, because of the stuff that Kit does, we've got a license for the Adobe package. So I could use Premiere if I wanted to. I just don't want to. I mean, if it works for what you want to use it for, I don't think anyone can really question it. I'm being very lazy with how I'm editing at the moment. I think what I'm going to do with the clip stuff is like every month take the best performing clips and just add them into a video. I think that's probably the way I'm going to go with my clips channel. I don't know whether the best performing clips are going to go onto my main channel or onto my clips channel as well as like a thing. I'm thinking main channel and then direct more people to the clips channel. I think that's the route I'm going to take with it, But yeah, I'm happy with Vegas, what Vegas is doing at the moment. After I edited that script to make it work like I wanted it to, that's all good now. I may need to write a script that connects to the YouTube API and uploads videos that way, as opposed to doing it all manually. And annoyingly, you can only upload a certain number of videos at once. So, like, YouTube has a limit to how many videos it will happily let you upload before it says, no, you have to wait 24 hours. Let me see here. I believe it's 10. I think it's 10. You can only upload 10 out of videos in a 24-hour period. Even if you're scheduling them for different points, you can only upload 10 videos in a 24-hour period. Yeah, I didn't know YouTube had a limit either. I did not know. I only found out because I tried to upload a video and it was like, no, you've uploaded enough. You've hit your upload limit for a day. Wait, upload tomorrow. I'm like, geez, man, I'm not making them live now. I'm just uploading them now. But yeah, at the moment there are 4 videos available on the Clips channel, and we'll see how they go. I've been very simplistic with my titling and the descriptions of them. Very simplistic. You heard that car in the background, yeah, the joys of living on a main road, and it's warm, so I have to have the windows open. This is only going to get worse as we progress into summer, where I'm going to have fans and my office window open as well. We have been looking at buying a house. We saw a house that we were debating about putting an offer in. Well, not an offer as such. It's going to auction, and it's currently set at 95 grand. And we were looking at it, and we were looking at it, and we were looking at it, and we're like, it's out of the way, but the amount of work that it needs doing on it. And then we're like, but I don't know if that's a big issue, so like it may be fine. We may not have to spend a fortune to sort it out. And we've been looking more and more at it, and then we found that they did like a video. The mortgage for it would be really cheap. For 95 grand, the mortgage would be like 400 quid, which is a lot less than what we currently pay in rent. But the house, like, it's in a nice little area. It's got some character to it. It's got some really, like, the living room. The living room is really cool. It's got an old school Aga. Like, we're not talking an electric Aga. We're talking a coal Aga. It's like, whoa. And it's got one of those massive dual sinks. And we're like, that's kind of cool. But it's like, because we were looking at it, and it looks like it was an old person that lived in the house, because only like 2 rooms were obviously maintained, and that was the living room and the master bedroom. But as we were looking around, we were like, okay, we know it's gonna need work, and it's 95 grand. So how much money are we gonna have to spend to make it habitable? Like not in terms of we're gonna have every single room available to us or what have you. No, we're talking like just so that we could live in it. So that we'd have the kitchen done, the bathroom done, and the bedroom done. That's all we'd need, ideally. Like, how much would it cost us? And we were looking at it more and more. And we were like, oh, well, we could probably afford that. And then we noticed they had like a 3D viewing of the house. So that you go into each room and they have like a 360 camera that you put in the middle of the room and you can look around. And that was the first chance we had to look at the ceilings and the upper walls in places. And living room, completely fine. The living room was great. Like, it would need some floor work. But other than that, it looked really good. It even had some really cool beams on the top. And when you go into the hallway, and you're like, right, so we know we're going to have to rewire the house because it's ancient. Unfortunately, we don't. But in this case, like, we'd need to rewire the house, and that's a lot of money. We've discovered that it doesn't have a central heating system. So the Aga, the coal-fired Aga, coal-fired Aga, I'm going to emphasize this. The coal-fired Aga heats part of the house. Now, if it was an electric Aga, I'd deal with it. But it's not. It's a coal Aga. Then they have a separate water tank in the bathroom. And you're like, okay. And then they've got some electric radiators throughout the house as well. And you're looking at it going, we wouldn't just need to rewire that house. We'd need to replumb that house. Like, we'd have to rework the entirety of the plumbing in that house. The bathroom needs an entire removal and redoing. The bathroom window was broken with ivy coming through it. So you'd have to replace the windows as well. They all look single glazed, so we'd have to do all of the windows and get those double glazed. There was major damp issues, but we had assumed that much, so we could have sorted the damp. But then you went in the hallway, and the hallway, you looked up and you're like, are those beams rotten? And it looked like 3 out of the 5 beams in the hallway were rotted. And those are quite important beams, and they were just rotted completely. So those would need reworking. So that's structural. The second bedroom, so it's a 2-bed, but the landing is actually quite large, and you could turn that into an extra space, a bed space, or you could turn it into what Kit wanted was a studio, an art studio, and that I'd have the second bedroom, and I'd have that as my office, and we'd have our main bedroom. But so the second bedroom had major plastering issues, and it looked like some of the issues weren't just related to the plastering, but the roofing itself. The house's insulation wasn't actual insulation, it was straw. So that would need doing. And as we were looking at the house, we were like, maybe at 70 grand we'd consider this. But at 95 grand we can't. At 95 grand, that house required like at least 30 or 40 grand of work. And that's just money we can't. We can't. You'd have to do it bit by bit, but you'd have to. Before you could move in, we would have had to have sorted the kitchen, dealt with the Aga, like put in an actual oven, because it didn't have one, sort the bathroom out, sort the windows out, sort the electrics out, sort the plumbing out, sort the structural issues out, sort the insulation out, and we didn't even get to see what the garden looked like. And they're not allowing viewings because it's going to auction. So we kind of gave up on that house by a tent. Yeah. Yeah, we looked at the house, we were like, like, we can see the potential in the house. And it has a lot of character. Like, when it's done, it would look really nice. It would look like a typical British cottage, which would be a really nice house to live in. But for 95 grand with that much work, nope. Nope. And the sad thing is, that's the house that's in our price range. It's crazy. The housing market in the UK is fucked. But yeah, back to my original point. The Clips channel. We're being very simplistic with our naming conventions. And I'm being very simplistic with my descriptions. So hopefully, people will see a video titled Marmalade and go, oh, what's that? See a video titled Morphin Time and go, what? What's that? So that all of the videos on my Clips channel are just short titles. So the titles that we currently have are Marmalade, Morphin Time, Dark's Dictionary, and Sending the Link. A video tonight that's coming up, it's just called Bourneville. To give you an idea of the video's naming, so those are the video names. The video names that are still waiting to go up, and these are only ones that I've rendered so far. I've not gone through a load of other footage and done it. We've got Irony, Laminate Him, Keitel Slam Poetry, Aramil's Truck Problem. I think you'll like that one, Joe. Bullying the Warlock, Irony 2, Accidental Discharge, The Accent, That Super, Shut Up Car. That isn't a title, I just wanted that car to shut up. Two Idiots Dancing, Comparing Ship Sizes, Middling Chungus. This one's a long title. Zavala sucks more than any other Titan. And, what's that one? The Laughing Horse. So, those are just from one stream. One Destiny stream, randomly. So I need to go through loads of other streams. I'm probably going to go through some footage of older streams that I've got as well. And make some clips to go on the channel. Because some of those videos are never going to get edited out into be a highlights reel. But what I can do is take the clips and chuck them on. Like a From the Archives thing. But I've got so many streams and so many videos from over the years. That would be quite nice just to do something with them and chuck them on the clips channel. But yeah. But yeah. That's been an hour of me talking with you guys. So we've gone through a fair few topics this time. A lot more than I thought we would. Driving, COVID, Clips channel, house. the differences between clips and shorts. Like, we've done a fair few here. So, but as it's an hour, my throat is starting to give out. Non-stop talking for this long kind of does that. So I am going to cut it all off there and end the show. Hopefully the changes... It's much more useful having someone else to actually talk to. What do you mean? I quite like having... Like, last week you guys suggested... I don't know, I quite like this format. I do kind of like this format. When there's more people in chat, I think it works really well. So I've made that change that you guys suggested last time. Well, I've added the chat to the side of the screen, so that it's something for people to look at. But again, this is just a design. This is just designed ideally for people to put me on in the background, and we'll talk smack for an hour, and you guys can just listen, see what your thoughts are. But yeah, I'm gonna call it there. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this stream. If you're watching it on YouTube, hopefully you enjoyed listening to the VOD, and you'll come check us out live at some point in the future. Yes, if you're watching from YouTube, go check out the Twitch channel, Dark Eye Free. That's where I do these shows live. If you're watching Twitch live, go check out my YouTube channel, Dark Eye Free. It's where the VODs of these go. For both of you, go check out the new Dark Eye Free Clips channel. I'm aiming to have 2 clips up there daily. So go check those out. 1 PM GMT and 9 PM GMT, I believe, are when those are going up. They're not premiering, so they're just immediately going up, ready for anyone to watch. So go check them out. Throw them a like if you like them. Double click that dislike button if you dislike them. Not that it matters. No one looks at that anymore anyway. You can also find me on Twitter at DarkEye3. Go check that out. I will occasionally rant about shit on there, but not very often anymore. I kind of have avoided that platform now. It's become a dumpster fire ever since they shut down Tumblr's porn. All of those people went to Twitter, of all places. But yes, thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Have a very good evening, morning, afternoon, or night, wherever you may be. And I will see you all on the next stream. Take it, guys. Bye-bye.